Hi there, I'm Steve Nygren, founder of Serenbe. You know, for a lot of Americans, life just isn't working the way it should. We're more stressed, anxious, and disconnected than ever. Many people feel left behind by the economy, let down by institutions they once trusted, and overwhelmed by the scale of environmental challenges. Much of this comes down to something simple: where and how we live. When we reinvest in our communities and rethink the way we build and connect with one another, we open the door to healthier, more meaningful lives, not just for ourselves, but for the future generations. That's what my book, Start in Your Own Backyard, Transforming Where You Live with Radical Common Sense, is about. It offers a practical, hopeful roadmap for creating places where people of all ages can thrive, where everyday life is infused with beauty, purpose, and connection. The book is here to spark ideas, offer guidance, and remind you that big change really can start small. Start in Your Own Backyard is available now wherever you buy books. Sometimes the most powerful thing we can do is simply begin right where we are.
Tia Morrill and Jose Nava's Serenbe story began nearly a decade ago when they caught a glimpse of the community on the TV show CBS Sunday Morning. Serenbe left a deep impression, yet at the time they were building a life and growing a business in Miami, raising their young daughter Lola and immersed in the energy of city life. Fast forward, and in the wake of long commutes, a growing family, and a shifting sense of what they wanted their day-to-day to feel like, that early impression resurfaced. A spontaneous stop on a holiday road trip turned into something more lasting. Within minutes of arriving, Lola, now 10, ran across the field, turned to her dad and said, "I love it here. I feel so free." That was the moment everything clicked. As co-founders of Levie, a boutique branding and design agency, Tia and Jose have worked with global clients, blending Tia's strength in storytelling and marketing with Jose's background in architecture, placemaking, and graphic design. And because their business was built with flexibility, they had the opportunity to choose where they wanted to live. That same creative instinct eventually found a new expression with the opening of their lifestyle boutique, Levie Merci. It's thoughtfully curated boutique in Serenbe's motto neighborhood. It brings together lifestyle pieces they love from around the world. Fashion, home goods, children's items, and small discoveries that reflect both their travels and their values. It's equal parts a retail space and creative lab, and a place where their professional expertise and stellar personal style converge. Whether it's the way they curate the shop, explore new ideas, or spend time as a family, there's a through line of creativity, curiosity, and intention. And then there's Lola, whose early declaration of freedom feels in many ways like the truest reflection of why they're here. She even makes a sweet appearance in this episode, offering her own perspective on life in Serenbe, one filled with parks, ice cream, creativity, and a whole lot of joy.
Our first evening that we arrived in June of 24, the next morning, I remember it was like, 7:30 or 8, and we decided to all venture out into the trails. And it was so cinematic, the way that the light was filtering through the trees. And I remember then I was like, well, this really is it really fills my soul in a way, it really feeds my soul in a way that I feel like Miami hasn't been doing so for almost 2 decades that I've been there, right?
Tia, Jose, welcome to Serenbe Stories. How are you guys today?
Thank you. We're very excited to be here.
Hey, Steve, how are you?
Good. Looking forward to the conversation.
I know.
Likewise.
We're so excited. You guys are sort of newbies to Serenbe. And we have so much fun things to talk about today because not only have you moved here, but you've opened a store. But we always love to know, the very first thing is, what is your Serenbe story? How did you discover Serenbe and what got you to move here? Whoever wants to start.
Okay. I would say about 10 years ago, we actually came across Serenbe on a Sunday news special.
Okay, nice.
And that was our very first kind of time hearing about Serenbe. And so we're very excited. I mean, the place just seemed amazing, really magical. And we saw so many things that we were like, wow, that's a really great place to like raise a family, right?
Yeah, we loved the blueberry bushes and the trails, and we saw the sense of community. I think it was like a Willie Geist Sunday Today
CBS
special.
Sunday Morning.
And at that point, did you have any children?
We only
had
had
one.
Lola. She was a baby.
Okay, she was a baby.
Yeah. So we thought, oh, what a cool place. That would be an awesome place to raise a family. And that was kind of it.
We still felt like we had, a lot to do in Miami then. And so we still were kind of like enjoying that city life and all that. And it wasn't until the second one came around that we were like,
we need to leave.
Yeah. So overwhelmed by the city and by all the time that we're spending commuting and just in the car doing things.
Yeah.
And we just felt like, okay, we kind of, now it's time. Really, it was coming out of COVID that we're like, you know what, like now it's the time for us to maybe like really be more intentional about where we want to raise our kids. Because we had that flexibility having our business that we could really be selective and intentional about where we wanted to live. We had some parameters like, being close to family and all those things. But we were excited to start exploring. And so we didn't really think of Serenbe first. Like we were actually looking at other places. And it just happened that on a trip to Asheville, we decided, let's spend
kind
a
of
few
popped
days
back in our minds and we're like, why don't we go check it out? You know?
It was a very casual checkout. And we stopped here, like we drove here 9 hours.
I think we booked it for 2 nights.
Yeah. Yeah, we spent like 2 or 3, no, it was like 3 or 4 days actually here. And we got here at night after driving for what felt like all day. And it was like right before New Year's.
Yeah, it's a 9-hour drive.
Yeah, right after Christmas. It was a day or two before New Year's. And we arrived, it was nighttime. And we had both our kids and their cousin. And they all get off the car by the end. They start running around the field where the little Christmas tree lights were. And then Lola, who's our 10-year-old, she runs around and comes over to me and she tells me, Daddy, I love it here. I feel so free. And that was when I knew. That was 10 minutes in. 10 minutes in. 10 minutes in, yes.
And let alone the next day, I'm sure.
Literally the next day we went to the Blue-Eyed Daisy and we were having coffee and Jose was like, hey, why don't we go over to the real estate office? And I'm like, that's insane. We just got here. No. And he was like, well, why don't I take the kids there and you can just finish your coffee and enjoy it and have time to yourself. And I thought that was great. And then later that day, we saw the plot of land in Overlook that is where we now live.
That's amazing. No,
that quickly.
It was very quick.
That's what happens.
Yeah, that's what happens. Yeah.
We were just like, this is what we were looking for. It was an easy.
And it's usually the kids or the dogs that know it first.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
That's so true. And it's really funny because when in the 6 months, I think before we came, we had chosen it so quickly and we really didn't know anything about the area. So one of the things that we did with our daughter is we would listen to the Serenbe story. So we're very familiar with them and she loves them. I think that's...
Oh, that's great. Well, we should
really
get her in here at the end to do a little quick cameo. Maybe she can do also the final question with us. Maybe
I think
we'll
she'd
grab
love
her
that.
in. Okay, great.
She would love that, yeah.
No, it is pretty magical, and it is the kids. And then usually my husband was the same way. Let's just go into the real estate office. I was like, why? What? Yeah. Why would we do that? What are you talking about? So you mentioned a business, so flexibility, which is so lovely. And so your company, and am I saying it correctly, Levie?
Yeah, Levie.
Mm-hmm. It's a specialized marketing branding agency, yes, all over global, out of Miami originally. Now I guess you're out of Serenbe, yes?
Yes.
Okay. Tell us all about that and how'd you get into that? And it's in both of you.
So it's a boutique branding and design agency. Our team, to a degree, it's interesting because we hired our team in Miami and then I think, early 2020s, kind of the world went remote. And we were already familiar with that structure because that was what we had kind of before we hired any employees. Mm-hmm. And so, our team kind of started to move across. We had an employee that moved to Berlin, another one that moved to Dubai. And we were already working with clients in Europe, in LATAM, and, in the West Coast, global enterprise clients. And so it just so happened that we felt like there was really no disruption at all to the operation. And that was why we were able to then kind of be more intentional about our move. But 10 years ago, was it actually almost 12? 2014, we started the agency. Tia started it. She was coming from the marketing world, specifically in hospitality and retail. And I was coming more from my background was more in design, specifically architecture and urban design. And I did a little bit of placemaking in Miami in Wynwood, which is the arts district. And what happened there was I got in for the urban design and I ended up doing more branding and positioning work. And so because this neighborhood in transition, it was an industrial warehouse neighborhood. And the developers had a vision to turn it into a global arts destination.
So cool.
And it did become that. It had all the bones. It had it had really the infrastructure to do that. It already was appealing and attracting to the top street artists in the globe, from
so
Portugal,
cool.
from Mexico, from Ukraine, from France. They were coming to Miami specifically for Art Basel and kind of doing a takeover.
Oh, of course. That makes so much sense.
So it was a really interesting time, and I was there, and my job started as an intern and ended up becoming a director kind of very quickly because there was just a need for somebody to do this work.
I love that.
But that was kind of my segue into branding, and Tia had more the marketing and creative storytelling side. So when we came together, that was kind of the perfect way for us to start doing this practice. And we started with very, very small
your work
projects.
is beautiful. Like the branding is gorgeous.
Thank you.
So if we ever need anybody, Steve, we should.
I think it shows what's happening to this area because Preserved Life has global architects and people from all over the world. And I wandered into your shop and you're doing the branding for it, I believe.
Oh, that's so
Is that
fantastic. I
not
had no
amazing?
idea. That's fantastic.
So it's great to see these global entities coming together right here. And how did that happen, for instance?
Preserve specifically it's interesting because it was, I think, relationships. We started to get to know the community. And then we had a friend who was involved in the project. And he was like, man, they got this amazing property. They got these incredible architects that they're working with from all over the globe.
Yeah.
They got an incredible vision and they have all the pieces, but they don't have branding. And so he kind of saw the opportunity from the get-go because, we're talking about some of our enterprise clients and, working with clients like F1 and Boeing and Related Ross and some really big names. And he was like, I feel like you guys would be like the perfect type of like agency partner to help them, really take this and shape the brand so that we can really take this to where it needs to be.
I love it.
But I was always like, no pressure. Listen, I'm happy to have a conversation whenever. It took some time. And then as soon as we had a conversation, things moved very quickly. And we all kind of knew, I think the developers, there's always like a vibe that goes on. And there's like a click between people. So like the chemistry was there.
That's such a great
and we feel
project.
So honored to be working on it. I mean, it's the most beautiful.
It's incredible.
It's really.
It's going to have real global significance once it's open.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. We have no doubt.
And everything they're doing from a hospitality standpoint, I think like we keep kind of like referencing, okay, like hospitality wise, it's going to be like an Amman, but then from a longevity and wellness standpoint, it's going to be like a Chenot. So like it's kind of bringing the best in class in hospitality, the best in class in wellness and longevity, the best in class in science, and then it's even going to have a grocery side.
We're so excited about that.
Yeah. It's so exciting that these global partners are all coming together, and they're right here.
Right here.
We never expected that.
Well, that's the point. This isn't.
It was really, it's one of those just incredible things that just kind of happened. And again, it was just through a friendship that we even connected with them.
Just the global citizens that are on the streets and in the coffee shops. It's getting more and more interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Even the accents, the different languages you're just hearing.
We love
day
the
to day.
cultural aspect of it. Especially Jose being from Mexico. I think for us, like having people from different cultures has always been really important in where we live. And that was something about this place that I think is really special too.
So you were on these separate careers before you met.
Yes.
How did you meet?
Well, I think one of the things I was actually putting on a.
Now we're getting good.
She didn't want to go with me on a date.
I did not. I was putting on I was working in marketing at the time, and I was actually putting on a cocktail competition at a local bar in Miami.
In Wynwood.
And in Wynwood, yes, where, of course, Jose was having a drink after work. And so he came up to me and he said all of his friends were trying to figure out where I was from, and that was his pickup line. And I asked him,
you don't often see a blonde in Miami walking into a bar. So it's like, this is a very specific, very probably commonplace occurrence in most major American cities, not in Miami. In Miami, it's quite the opposite. So my friends who were actually all American, most of them actually Jewish American, they were all like, you don't often see, and especially because the bar that we were in was a very, diverse, progressive bar. So you had a lot
was
of different...
what we called, back then it was a hipster bar.
It was a very hipster bar.
And you were the only blonde in the room.
I guess
Yes.
so. I don't know.
You stood out.
He did offend me
out.
because he asked me, he's like, oh yeah, we're all making bets on where we think you're from. And I was like, well, where do you think I'm from? And he was like, I thought Connecticut. And I was like, Connecticut. So you think I'm from like the most basic white girl
I thought it was
place.
classy.
I'm from California, so I was offended. And then
Well, it depends on what part of California, because there's a lot of Connecticut in California. You just got to find it. Yeah.
Yes.
That's true. Northern California.
Yeah.
So San Francisco.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then Jose, kept hanging around. He's very persistent. So he kept talking, and he was talking about a lot of the places that he had lived. He had just come back from almost a year in Paris. And, so he got me there. And then we kind of really bonded over, I think, our passion for the idea of creating the world that we want to see and building our own businesses. And we both had that from the start. We still, our favorite thing to do is still just talk about new ideas for things. And I think that it was less than a year into dating when Jose encouraged me to, start my own business. He was like, I really believe in you. I think you should just go for it. So I did. And I mean, literally within 2 months, I was so busy that he joined me full time.
Wow.
And then we worked together ever since. We had our daughter a little over a year after that.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing.
Yeah. So,
Well, and now you have a whole new endeavor, right? So you've got 2 kids.
yes.
And then you have another baby, which is your store.
Yes.
So tell me about Levie, Immersed. It's amazing space. We'll put links into the show notes and your Instagram to follow, but it has a little bit of everything. It's really, I guess you'd call it a lifestyle store, but it's wonderful. Price points are great, kind of, different price points, but it's beautifully curated. So where did this come from? What was the idea? Did you have it before you came to Serenbe? And then how do you balance that with all the brand work?
So I think I'll start
lots of
there.
big questions.
Yeah.
Lots of big questions. But I think we had, having done this other business for about the last 10 years, we had worked on so many great brands for other people.
Yeah.
And we always kind of had that little itch that was like, we could really do this for ourselves. And again, like Tia mentioned, I think that we always come together talking about ideas about not just about businesses, but about how we can improve the world or, in a way, leave our mark. And business just happens to be a great vehicle to do that, right?
Yeah.
So for us, we always felt like this itch, like, okay, we're doing this for other people. We can do this for ourselves. But what we were missing was kind of like, what is the right thing and what was the opportunity? And Tia always had a knack for fashion and style. So we knew that there was something there. But, we just felt like there were so many constraints, a lot of them typically being time constraints.
In Miami, we did a few different pop-ups, and we would sell little limited runs of T-shirts and things like that. Just more so, just
like a
as
creative
a fun,
outlet,
creative expression for sure.
But I'm sure retail is pretty expensive in Miami.
Yes,
So
it
that's
was never
always...
even anything we thought of as physical space in general was nothing we were
Right.
originally thinking about. We have definitely explored building our own brands, especially in that retail space. And I mean, the way the store happened was just so out of nowhere. It was, we heard about a potential space at our son's birthday party at the school, that there might be a space in Motto, and we're like, well, let's check it out. We really didn't know what we would want to do with it. So we just went and looked at it, and we were like, we looked at the space and we're like, it was more of a question of what could we do here? And we thought, oh, this can be a really cool brand lab. And then it kind of came into, well, why don't we start it as a boutique, bringing in all the brands that we love, some that I miss from Miami, or some that we found traveling to different places, or just that our kids loved growing up. I think the whole idea was to make it's primarily women's apparel and accessories. But what I really wanted to play around with the idea of was creating a boutique where there was also a solid space for children, where it's not like, oh, okay, mom's going to go shopping and then we'll find a store for you. It was more like where you can bring your kids in and they can have a good time, and then you can also shop and enjoy yourself.
And it's great things, that people don't expect. I was in with a group, and the woman, you had little stuffed animals. I mean, and she's adult. This wasn't a child.
Right.
But she was collecting them, and she was just so surprised she could find it here because you had the one she was missing and had been looking all over for.
The jelly cat.
That's so funny.
Yes.
The jelly cat croissant.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's something like I love stuffed animals. My kids love stuffed animals. And plush, that's another thing that we're looking, into building our own brand of plush as well. So it's an area that we want to keep exploring. So we thought, what better place again to start with like our favorite plush brands and learn more about the market. And a lot of kids around Serenbe have
a lot of jelly cats.
Have some new plush. And then for the older kids, like slime is everything. So we have one of our friends, our friend's daughters, who's 10 years old, and she has her own slime company. So they ship their slime from Florida, and we sell that at the store. So and then Jose is the chocolate man. And we've kind of bring in chocolate that we found in different travels. One of my favorite brands is Casa Bosques, and they're from Mexico City. And Mexico City is where we discovered that brand, and they make it there. And it's just like the most amazing. That's my favorite chocolate brand that's there.
Okay, good.
Oh, haven't tried that yet.
I know.
We have some really
so
great
good. It's not too
chocolates.
sweet.
Yeah.
But it's so pure. Like it's just
That's great.
really incredible
A
chocolate.
really great curated selection from all over the globe. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting because Tia had a mood board of just things that she was pinning in her kind of home office. And she had that, she was kind of building that progressively over the last 6 months before we opened the store. And her intention was to kind of, turn that or use that in order to design our first collections. And kind of, we were thinking about starting it as an e-com brand specifically for women's fashion. And she had some really neat ideas for the products.
Yeah.
And the more that we looked at it, we were like, wow, in order to do this well, you have to do these custom cuts and then do such a high volume, but we have no customers. So when the space became available and we started to wonder about what could it be, at first it was, thinking about something, there was an opening to kind of continue the Nigel's legacy in some way, and we quite didn't know at that moment that Morill was going to be doing the ice cream. And so at first it was, maybe it's a continuation of this in a different format. And then when we looked at the space, we're like, you know what? Like, this is actually something that could be much more in line with the brand that we're trying to build that is already kind of in development.
Right.
And then we kind of take it from there.
And also starting with, learning about the process of retail and then also buying from my favorite brands, because basically the way that we've sourced the merchandise is that I reach out directly to each brand. And these are brands that I've worn for years. I know them, I trust them, I love them. I'm obsessed with quality and design. So some of my favorites are like Doen. We have a lot of their dresses. In May, we're getting a lot of amazing ones.
Yeah.
Cool has the best knitwear sweaters. And then, I feel like once you try a Goldie jeans, you don't go back. So it's a whole mixture. But like, for instance, the line that I was working on that we're still working on is like a line of tennis dresses. And I really wanted to focus on making them as much of a percentage of organic cotton as possible, because my daughter's gotten into tennis here. It's been another thing that we love to do is go out to the tennis courts as a family. A lot of the materials that are in a lot of our clothing today is absolutely terrible for us. And the studies are coming out are stronger and stronger. So that's something where like most of what I source in the store, 95% of what's in there is regenerative or organic cotton and pure cashmere.
So you'll have a brand line. Will it be the same name?
It'll be Levie.
Thinking?
Yes. Again,
Levie.
because we do branding and we love making brands and designing them, our ultimate goal is to have different lines of our own brands and different brands under one house, which is Levie Merci.
Yeah.
But at the start, it's definitely going to be under the Levie Merci brand. We already have some organic T-shirts and sweaters, and we'll keep expanding that line and then building out our own designs.
That's so great.
But then we might have some sub-brands. Again, our plush brand definitely has its own name, and that's Castle Cub. So we're having fun. This is like a really fun project.
It's so fun when the kids, is it 10 and 5 or 11 and 5?
10 and 5.
Yeah. So it's like are so great, and they can inspire you on little toys and fun stuff that they're interested in, and that will change over the years. And it's like you can just be on trend because these kids know what they're talking about.
They do.
You know?
I trust my daughter's viewpoint
100%.
very highly. And again, it's so cool because, speaking of like why here and balancing it, she walks to the store from school. She learned how to use the register the first day, and she rings up people when she's in there, and she just loves it. And I think that was something we really, for our second business, we wanted something that we could really include the kids on.
One of the things I'm curious about is you had a mood board. So what inspires you? Because it is such a great mix in there. Mm-hmm. And so you've talked a little bit about the sourcing, and obviously that will be a perfect, because you'll learn all about
We're already learning so much.
Exactly. So it's like once you're understanding like how you buy, then you can learn how to sell and retail, and you understand the line sheets and all that business.
Right.
But tell me what inspires you. Like what do you, because, and this can be not just for the store, but just in general, what is it that you guys are listening to or reading, or where are you wanting to travel next?
Yeah, I think typically what inspires us is travel. I think travel is probably the most inspirational. I think we love to, there's destinations that we know we love and that we like to frequent. And then there's like the whole exhilarating act of going someplace new.
Yeah.
Right. And then just being able to discover a new setting with its new sense of place, a new culture, people, restaurants, everything, right? Mm-hmm. And I think we're so inspired by that. I think by exploring cultures, around the globe, and also by our kids exploring these places, right? Mm-hmm. But then also, I think retail is also a great source of inspiration. We like to see what's happening, and most importantly, what's missing.
Yeah,
because
where's
we're
the
always,
white space?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Even for us, it's like, we can go to a store and we're looking for something very specific, and then how big is the delta between what we're looking for and what there is available, right? So,
and it's like I find style to be the, one of the greatest forms of self-expression. At the end of the day, like what you're wearing affects how you feel and how you move in the world. And I think I've always felt so drawn to expressing myself in that way. It's always been a source of inspiration. I'm also an avid reader, so books definitely inspire me. And then I think for us, moving here, this whole place inspired us so much. I think that especially coming from Miami, you don't really know what's up here in, northern middle Georgia.
Yeah,
and
sure.
The horses, the hills, the forest. I think that we've been so inspired by that. And it's like, it creates so much opportunity, I think, for personal growth and kind of going inward. And I think that's really what we're always looking for is ways to like explore deeper meanings of life.
Nature's that amazing lab of creativity. And
yeah,
for
absolutely.
Sure. It both calms you to where you can be creative, and then what you see.
Exactly. And I think that's what I was seeking, is this groundedness where, a space to be able to create from. Originally, I thought I was moving here to focus on writing. So this was never the store, definitely. And I still am writing and, but I wanted to kind of, Miami's so busy and there's so much going on that it's really hard to take time to think or to create. And I think that that's what we were looking for. And coming here, that's where, again, like we created this by accident, basically.
Yeah.
So tell us about the writing.
I love writing. That's definitely like my first passion in life, and I'm very into fiction. And so there's a couple different novel ideas I've been working on. We'll see when they're seen to fruition. But
so I'm sure you run into all the authors and publishers that are already here.
Yes, I've met a lot. It's an incredible place. To talk about writing, to talk about reading. I've loved that aspect of it too. So again, you have like the style and the writing, that's all that I need.
Yeah. On your website, you talk about sort of a lightness that you're looking for, which I just felt was so great. And that like comes through in the store, and I think comes through in Serenbe, and just like walking on the streets, there's just lightness and positivity, Yeah,
I think it's a word that kind of chases me. It's another business idea kind of it's called light-minded. And that's this whole, around the whole concept of that. I think the word light is something that's always in my mind, especially when we think about designing or what we're looking for.
We actually had 2 different pop-up activations in Miami for specifically like little apparel drops and merch. One was in Little River, which is now the new creative hub in Miami.
Okay.
And the other one was in Design District. And both of those, we kind of, the working brand name that we deployed for the activation was Light-Minded. So for T, I think this concept has been recurring. And there's a lot of different ways in which it expresses itself, some of which will be coming out into some of the collections that we're doing. But yeah, I think that to that end, this feeling of lightness, I think, it comes out through style and fashion, but also in kind of how you approach your day to day. And to that end, the nature piece is such a strong and powerful sense.
Go lightly, my friend.
Right.
Yeah. But it is the nature. It is everything.
Like when we moved here and we started to discover the trails, I think it was like we arrived here.
You maybe didn't even know when you were coming.
No,
there were 22 miles of trail.
We did not know nearly how many trails there would be. And our first evening that we arrived in June of 24, the next morning, I remember it was like, 7:30 or 8, and we decided to all venture out into the trails. And it was so cinematic, the way that like the light was filtering through the trees. And I remember then I was like, well, like this really is like, it really fills my soul in a way, it really feeds my soul in a way that I feel like Miami hasn't been doing so for almost 2 decades that I've been there, right? And to that end, it's interesting because my parents were just here last week, and they were so awed by all the nature and the forest and the trails and the scent of the trees.
Oh, yeah.
And they were like, it's so amazing. Every little thing, they would notice it and they would say like, it's so amazing, like, the way that the trees smell and like, or like the way that, like you can get lost in these trails and this and that, all these little things. And like, you guys probably take it for granted by now, right? And I was like, you know what? To a degree, I think sometimes I do, but sometimes I don't, like I dropped off my kids the other day at fun night with Melanie. And I was coming back and I walked through the waterfall. And I just spent, 15, 20 minutes just lost in the waterfall and just in reflecting. It's amazing. It was almost like a psychedelic trip. And I was just kind of lost in thought, like looking at the trees. So it's really amazing what nature can do for the soul.
It's constant. I mean, I just had some group out walking. And the birds, I mean, just to stand and listen to the birds, and because we have geothermal, you don't have the normal noise in the cities they're coming from, and you can actually hear nature. And they were just right in the middle of the street, and the birds, and they were like, "Wow, oh my goodness!"
Yeah.
No, the sound is astounding. Like I went for a run this morning, and I don't feel like you need your phone or music when you're going for a run here.
No, I never turn any of it on. That
the sounds of nature are just healing on their own. Yeah.
Yeah. So how are we balancing it all? We got kids, we got 2 businesses, third one starting, if you will, fourth is the right.
there's like 10 different ones going on up here.
I know you're like close to hiring, as we were talking off air, somebody to be in the shop more often, because that is a hard part about retail.
Yes.
Is not,
we're
I shouldn't
looking
say hard,
that's
challenging.
Yeah.
Is to find a team to be in there, and sometimes they can't even be in there 6 days a week, but it's fabulous, and we want it to be open more so we can always roll it down. And it adds such a vibrancy. Motto already has so many great things, but it's such a compliment to that little section. Everybody just opened with such cool style, so we totally encourage everybody to go to Motto. What am I missing? Is there anything that I haven't covered in the Tia Jose lifestyle?
Well, I think first of all, I mean, what you just touched on of Motto and the neighbors that we have there, I think it's interesting because, when we first came to Serenbe, we fell in love with, Selborne and Grange, and we kind of explored a little bit of Motto, but not much. And then when we came here, while we were building our house in Overlook, we were living in Motto, and I think we really, especially, you had, when Minro opened, you had Bamboo, you had Creek Retreat, the Jiu-Jitsu place, Alchemy,
the Sharps,
the Sharps. You got House Out. So it's like already it's got like all the right ingredients of tenant curation and tenant mix for, a great sense of place, and really kind of like a strong and vibrant urban, commercial corridor. But we always felt like, we couldn't find the retail that we're looking for. So for us to be able to bring that is something that we feel very passionate about. Yeah. And I think that already the feedback that we're getting from the community is amazing.
It complements everything, even across Selborne, where there is a little more clothing retail.
Yes.
It's so complementary.
You feel a total void that isn't here.
It doesn't have any channel conflict, or it's just wonderful.
And what I love is all of you are building your own clientele from outside Serenbe.
Yes.
And you're pulling people in that are exposed to your neighbors. Yeah. And everybody's doing that. There isn't one heavy lead.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I love it because
so cool.
This weekend we had people from Atlanta. We had several parties that were in for the day or for the weekend. And so they're always asking, what do you recommend? What do I do? And I'm like, well, have you had coffee? Do you love coffee? Well, across the street, mineral, you got to have that. Mm-hmm. You want a juice? Go next door. You wanna look for housewares? Go to the Sharp. It's like all these things are right there.
They're right there.
And then hit the trails. Go to the waterfall. Go to the labyrinth. So, it's already.
And the cool thing is none of them are disappointing from no matter what urban centers you've come from. I mean, sometimes people think, it's going to be a little country shop.
Right.
Anything but. Right? These are things you might not find in your big cities. I mean,
exactly. Yeah, that was kind of definitely a goal, is that we wanted to bring the best of what we've found everywhere that we've gone to this one place that we love.
And you've really done it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just to be the Serenbe marketing plug for a minute, but I do think that by setting intention, Steve, by the placemaking you did with the architecture and then saying we're going to be a global destination, not, no offense to southern destinations, but we're not going to be a regional destination. We're going to be an international destination. And I think somehow, and I think you guys are a great example of it, coming from Miami, really robust city, but city,
right?
Yes.
And then you're bringing your talents just like all the other retailers have done. It's pretty exciting.
We respect so much what's here, and again, what drew us here and what we love about it. And that's where it's we just want to add a little bit of what we love to it, but in a way that really did.
I have a great friend who is a developer in Miami, and he also mentored me during my days in Wynwood, and he told me one time, it's really interesting, this dynamic between developers and tenants, because the developers kind of create the hardware, and then the tenants bring in the software. And you really need the best of both. Great hardware without great software falls flat. And then you can't have great software if you don't have great hardware. Mm-hmm. So you really need that mix. And I think that for us, what Serenbe was, I remember we fell in love in the UK when, we spent some time there, and we explored a lot of retail. And one of the places that we really loved was Dalesford, which is all about celebrating kind of the Cotswolds identity. And in the U.S., you don't have a lot of places that kind of are that, world-class, rural settings like you find in Tuscany, the Cotswolds, in south of France, in so many places. And so we felt when we came to Serenbe and we really experienced it, to us it felt like it really kind of checked that box for us, where it felt like the closest thing to being in the European countryside. And as we looked at opening the store, that's even why we kind of...
That's what inspired
Levie
us. Is the name
that's
of the
why I said Georgia Countryside Boutique, because we were there's this identity that we feel almost compelled to celebrate, and that we feel like it's still not seen by a lot of people, but
Well, and I think the branding, the global branding is happening. I mean, the Chattahoochee Hill Country with Preserve Life, Dunaway Gardens, Serenbe, this is yet to be unveiled to the globe. I mean, I think as a destination that will probably be as well known as any of those places another decade from now.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
It's wild.
When you look at all the top-end hotels that are on the drawing boards to come here, that's going to be a big surprise once all that's announced.
Oh, incredible.
Absolutely.
Well, in so many places, and my husband and I just knew empty nesters, just getting out a little bit into just the U.S. I mean, we've done a little bit of international, but it's hard to find little places that have their own retail scene. It's just so much stuff is cookie cutter, and it's the same thing over and over again. And I love New York and LA and San Francisco and all the cities, and even these little ancillary cities. but I don't know if I need another, not like a Gucci world, but every day, but you're like, I just don't need them stamped out. I want something special that speaks to sort of the ground.
Well, it's even
that it's coming out of, in a sense of place.
And I think it's that way with a lot of boutiques as well. The sourcing for them, you're getting a lot of acrylic sweaters and you're getting a lot of kind of like brands with no identity or there's not as much intentionality, I think, in the buying or selecting at small retailers and a lot of large retailers. Today, you go to a Nordstrom now, it's not the Nordstrom that was, 30 years ago. So I think like building, anything with heart and these things with your passion and buying so carefully and intentionally, I think makes all the difference.
I love it.
And I think you can see it so much doing anything with heart. When companies grow to a certain place, there are so many layers and so many roles, and people who aren't invested in the long-term vision, that things get lost, the intentionality gets lost in the middle of the bureaucracy almost. And that's why I think even like Serenbe has stayed true, because it is commendable that, the people who started it are still involved in seeing it come to fruition
and
every
live here.
day.
3 generations of us.
3 generations,
It's amazing.
And living here.
And our
kids,
they love the school, they love the camp.
And they know all the grandchildren.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's a testament to me that you guys live here, because so many developers stamp stuff out and they're already looking to the next 2 or 3 that they're going to do. And it's like Serenbe is Serenbe. There's one. It's special. Come, enjoy, live or don't live, shop or don't shop. It is such a wonderful thing to see something that's not just a short-term play, that is really a long-term legacy project and vision. And I feel like everybody who is opening here is really on the same sort of wavelength, the lightness, the light.
The folks I was with just this morning, where we were peeking in your shop, and these are some big folks that have their own foundation in Atlanta. We were talking about some of the possibilities for parks and what can happen, because we're connecting trails now from Serenbe to the river, which people don't realize how close that is, and the park that's being developed there, and then the larger park that could happen with land. And they said, well, how soon? When do you think this can happen? I said, in the next 50 years. And that's where we are. We're looking at where is this going to be in some of these things, and that's when this is really going to be a legacy project that there's no place like in the country,
in the world.
That's this close to an airport in a major city. I mean,
and that is
you have this sophisticated place here, but yet if you need anything that a major city has, it's just down the road.
100%.
Yeah. I mean, I don't believe that we would have started this boutique anywhere else. So, it's so special.
It's a very unique location that just has happened.
And just that it feels so safe. And, I think the warmth and everything, it just felt like such a great place to do it.
So how about the feeling that a lot of people are used to, that you don't think about, to not have to use car seats? Right? I mean, our grandkids are never in car seats, and that's so unusual, because usually that's a big part of your life when you have young kids.
Well, you should be clear, Steve, that they're in golf carts and bikes and everything. We don't encourage car seats in cars.
That's right. That's a good point. I just presume.
Or just walking.
They're out walking. They're not in the car vehicle. They're just
No, and that was the biggest issue that we had in Miami. We were spending between 2 and 4 hours a day in the car, especially once we added our second child, because you're driving to and from activities. I mean, our kids do so many activities just here, and you're just walking around from activity to the store, back to our house. I mean, the freedom that they get to have is for sure unlike anywhere else. And I think that it's so special.
And people even forget where their car keys are. They use them so much.
Yeah, I mean, we barely use our car.
And in Miami, we were not in the suburb or anything. We were in the central area where you were basically close to everything. And still we were spending over a couple hours a day in the car. So much of our time was being just wasted in the car. And here we're getting that back. And then
we get to enjoy that with our family.
You get to enjoy that with our family, and you also get to enjoy that and appreciate that surrounded by nature. And so that's an amazing thing. And I also, to your point, Stevie, the proximity to the airport, one thing that I love is people will ask me well, how about your business in Miami? How has that affected you? I'm like, well, number one, probably only about 20% of our business is in Miami. But if I need to be in Miami, I can fly there at, I can take an 8 or 9 a.m.
It's almost a commute.
I'm there in an hour and a half.
Door to door, yeah.
So if I leave by 8, I can take a meeting by 10:30, and I'm safe. So like totally
he does
fine.
it same day all the time. Just one day.
And by the way, if my flight is like at 8, I'm leaving the house at 7. I'm not leaving before.
Which is
I don't know, that's a little tight for me. And I'm usually
I agree.
I'm at 6:30.
Every time I feel like he's just risking it, but he always makes it somehow.
Yeah.
And it's kind of guaranteed distance. I mean, it's
No,
and
it's
then I'm
pretty
back
great.
the same day.
I know.
In the evening.
For dinner.
So it's great. Like I love that I can commute there and back.
And
it's like
having a major city so close too, because I think like
driving.
Right.
Yeah. And we coming from a city, we love cities. Like we love we love to see what people are doing. I think we get a lot of inspiration from that.
Incredible.
So we love going up to Atlanta and discovering new restaurants and new things going on and different, it's so the proximity is perfect.
We were joking, Atlanta is becoming New York. There are so many restaurant openings. You cannot keep up.
And the Beltline in the Midtown, such a walkable urban. I mean, they were really turning into an urban.
So cool.
It's just right down the road.
Yeah.
It's
and
incredible.
we didn't know anything about Atlanta before moving here. I mean, we had been there once.
Yeah.
So
it was a nice surprise.
It's been a really cool.
And great style, great people watching, really fun. Yeah, just super diverse and wonderful. Okay. As we wrap up, I wanted to bring your daughter in because we're going to bring her in for the final question. You want to go grab her?
Shall I? Yes.
Yeah. We heard, Lola, that you had been listening to Serenbe stories after you guys decided to move, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And so one of the questions we ask on Serenbe stories at the very end, do you remember what question we ask at the very end, everybody?
Wait. What is your favorite place in Serenbe to go?
Yep. Favorite place in Serenbe or favorite thing to do that you would tell somebody who'd never been here. What would you tell them to do? And it can be a couple things. It doesn't have to be just one.
Well, the first one that I want to say is that one of my favorite places is all the trampolines here in Serenbe.
Yes, Mr. Steve.
And the parks.
The parks are great. Mr. Steve, tell us about those trampolines.
How many trampolines have you been on?
I found about, I'd say maybe 3.
That's right. And we have a 4th one that's going to go in at some point. But we'll wait until that happens.
Were you going to tell us?
No, of course not. That keeps the mystery. But we'll post when it's in, and then everybody have to hunt for it.
What's your favorite park and playground?
My favorite playground is probably the one behind my school here. It's in the woods, and it has all these like tree houses and trees everywhere. And right now, there's like one of those jungle gym type things getting built on it.
Ooh, very cool. I heard there's a library coming over there too. Is that true?
Yeah.
That's going to be cool. You're going to have to kick your mom out, or is she going to take you over there? I heard she's a big reader. Yeah? Okay. Any other things you want to share with us before we go?
Oh, and I also really like Morill. They have really good pastries.
Yes.
And ice cream.
The ice cream's new, which is good. And coffee.
Oh, yeah. Coffee,
and pottery.
Coffee for me, for sure.
All right. Well, Lola, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Do you want to ask your parents if they want to add anything?
Do you want to add anything?
Sure. I will say, I know Jose was going to say Monroe, so I think he's checked off. I personally love so much the Soul Barn. Lola actually just came with me and we did a sound bath with Megan last month. That was amazing.
Megan, yeah.
She loved it too.
Yeah.
I love all the workshops they have going on. I know like Alex Bravo is doing a lot of really cool energy workshops. And I also love the yoga studio and Pilates studio with Julie. It's amazing. So I love all those. I think those are must visits.
Now it's a shame people can't see you all because you look like you have just stepped out of a fashion plate, but it's also natural. It's light. Do you want to tell us what you're wearing here? I mean,
should that be our new ending question? What are you wearing today?
Well,
Nobody can see
not
you.
everyone is quite that, but it's just so much. You're talking about light and natural, and I can tell that's what this is all about. Whether it's child's or.
Thank you so much. Yeah, Lola's wearing a minnow dress. It's one of our favorite brands we have at the shop, and I'm wearing some Citizens of Humanity cargos that I love right now. And we have a lot of really cool basic white T-shirts, which is also what I'm wearing. They're organic cotton, and they're really great. And
that overshirt. I mean.
Oh yeah, this is really cool. This is fully cotton, and it's. Yeah.
the blue of the sky, the beautiful summer sky there.
Thank you.
Jose, you got
I feel like I should have been more prepared for this
not
question.
at all. You didn't know. We surprised you
It's
with
that
this.
natural kind of thing you just throw out there.
Jose is monochromatic here. Tell us what you're wearing, Jose.
Well, the blue that Tia is wearing is her favorite color, and it's actually our Levie Mercy blue. So that is there's more to come with that.
The designer.
And then I'm wearing Alex Crane, which is an amazing European linen brand made from it's made in Portugal. It's a U.S. brand. I actually found them at the Four Seasons boutique in Miami. But the quality of linen is really great, like really top notch. It's like Brunello Cucinelli, but at a tenth of the price.
We like that.
They have a great price point, Alex Crane, and I think it's such
between 100 to like 200. And I can go and find the same linen in Brunello Cucinelli for over 1,200. You know, so it's like it's really top notch, great craftsmanship. And thank you for the compliments, Steve.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us on Serenbe Stories. Lola, thanks for popping in at the end. And we're so thrilled to have you as our neighbors and have a fabulous new retail shop in Motto. So thank you guys.
Thank you so much. This was really fun.
Thank you. We loved it. Thank you for having us.
Thank you all.
Bye, Lola.
Bye.
The Inn at Serenbe is a luxury retreat tucked away in the rolling countryside just outside Atlanta and just minutes from Hartsfield-Jackson Airport. With over 1,000 acres to explore, you'll find preserved forests, a wildflower meadow, and over 15 miles of scenic hiking trails. Whether you're exploring the animal village, lounging by the pool, or enjoying a fresh farm-to-table meal, there's no shortage of ways to unwind at the Inn at Serenbe. Use code Serenbe Stories when you book online or over the phone and receive 10% off your next stay. The Inn at Serenbe offers endless ways to connect with nature and create unforgettable memories, so book today.